Welcome to the Collective Genius Podcast, the show for real estate investors who are looking to scale.
Welcome back into the live Collective Genius Podcast. We are here in Dallas, Texas at our CG Select and Elevate event. Have I told you guys lately how much I love the Collective Genius? Well, I'm going to tell you again, and here's why. Sitting next to me is Gregersen. Casey is the second premier level member to sit in this chair here today that has come to the CG Select event to present on the main stage his journey as a real estate investor, as a real estate entrepreneur, as a husband, as a father, marketing, all the things included in this journey. Casey, can't thank you enough. Welcome in to the live version. We've had you on the main podcast. Now we've got you on the live version. Welcome in.
My pleasure, Leon. Appreciate the invite.
Yes, it's always good to have you. And again, if I haven't told you how much I love this community, it's for reasons like this. Casey started his journey at CG Select. In fact, I think you told me on the live podcast or in the regular podcast that you were still full-time when we first talked. And yep. I think you even said, I didn't even really want to tell you, but I don't know if I told you, but you were still a full-time W-2 that were starting, you had a bunch of doors and you were just about to make that jump and you finally did. And you started in the CG Select group, and I've seen you grow as you've gone into this major full-time branding, marketing. You've done a great job of that. And I'm guessing that's what you're going to be sharing here today with our group of 200 plus members that'll be out there listening.
Yeah. Well, first off, I'm so excited and so honored to have the opportunity to speak to this amazing community. Full house. It's going to be dream come true, Leon. So I'm excited there. And then, yeah, the ironic part is that it was almost 3 years ago to the date. And I was just, and we're going to talk about it today, but I was just segueing from my full-time job. Literally, I actually got laid off from my full-time job like the days before coming to my first event.
I didn't know that piece that you got. I knew you got laid off and because of you really growing this. And it was about that time anyway that you were holding on for as long as you could. But I didn't realize it was right before the event that you came in here. So you came in here going, I've got to make this work now.
Oh, 100%. I was worried I was going to miss the event because my boss, they weren't giving me the time off. And I had scheduled this event and I'm like, literally coming in, I'm like, what am I going to do? I told them, and I'm like, am I literally is this how it's going to all end right now? Is because I'm not missing this event.
Right. So let's share a little bit about your story beyond, the W-2. You are based in Houston. Your market is Wyoming. Now, and you do some Montana as well, I believe. So you are remote, but you have built an amazing team. And I've always said to people that the secret sauce to working multiple markets, quite frankly, it's not that difficult. It seems pretty obvious, but it's to have leaders, boots on the ground for sure, especially when you're that far away. When you set out to do this, did you ever see it being where you're in one market and you're living in one area and your market's in another? That seems like the hard way to start.
That's a good point. I remember it probably fundamentally goes way back to when I first learned how to go direct to seller and start to wholesale, even though I wasn't doing a whole lot of wholesaling. I was trying to figure out where am I going to market to. And I was talking to my mentor at that time, and just Wyoming made sense based on a supply and demand and it was a niche. I didn't realize it was going to become such a powerful niche, but it was a market that I could get into and I could start having success right away. And I actually always thought that I would start Wyoming and then we'd come back and circle back to Houston and do that later. But what I quickly found out was I had this unique niche in this, especially when I started to compare my numbers in masterminds like this, right? In communities like CG, and saw what I was getting. They're like, luckily I had good mentors and good higher level people in CG that were like, you should milk that for everything you can.
You have developed a brand in that marketplace. And I've said this to a lot of people, is like, I've had some really good conversations with people that were from California but moved to South Carolina. And I go, well, why would you do that? And they said, well, I just did the market research and I went to where there was less competition. And maybe it's a handful, probably less, of applications over the last 7 years of investors that are qualified level members of the Collective Genius that are from your state. Like it's genius. Like that's your market. You should dominate that market and then maybe look at something else in the future. But you've built a brand there. How did that start? You were from that area originally, correct? Yep. And you played college football in that state, and so had a background in that state before you moved to Houston, and you knew that was an area that you knew well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually bought my first rental property while I was going to college in 2010. So I'd held on to that, and I'd seen the market there. I got to understanding it, and then I started buying a couple more rental properties. But I bought the first one in 2010. The second one didn't come until 2015. And then I started to get that bug, and I was reading the books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and really, really latching on and doing it. And then it just kind of started to snowball. But I was already doing deals, but I wanted to do more. And I was finding stuff on the market in Wyoming, like literally on the MLS, and was making deals work. And that's when, come back to that story, that's when I'm like, all right, I want to start doing direct-to-seller marketing. And we decided, let's go do Wyoming and let's start finding deals there. And it just started to compound and became... Like I always say, like I was able to drop our first direct mail campaign. We spent like $5,000 on it, and I got like 3 deals that I was making $40 to $50K each. And granted, a lot of these I was flipping and closing myself, but like that ROI, it was immediate. Like, and I proof of concept was there. So it's like, all right, let's start repeating this.
Well, and that's why everyone said go deep as you can, because that's not normal.
Yes,
it doesn't matter what market it was. That's not normal returns. In any market. So if someone watching right now or listening to this pod, if they were considering getting in a car right now coming here to this event, which you can't do, by the way.
I did today.
You did?
Yes.
But what I mean is if they're not a member.
Yes.
You can't do that. But let's say, hypothetically, someone could pay for a ticket and come in to watch your presentation. Give them a preview of what they should expect today.
You bet. So... yeah, it became super clear to me when I was thinking about what to share over my last 3 years. So again, it's like 3 years almost to the day that I joined. It's been one singular thing that has made all the problems easier, right? Because I came to CG with all these things that I was trying to fix, right? Raising money, finding more deals, running like an EOS system, right? Having good accounting, all these different things I wanted to have, building good teams. But the one single thing that really fixed it all was building a brand. And that's today what I want to focus on, is how I started that from the day one to the last 3 years. Because now today it's like I've just had, and I'm excited to share all these little examples of where you finally, you work on it. You're just doing it over and over and over. And then all of a sudden you have these little things that happen. And you're like, wow, raising money, raising that $1 million for that big multifamily deal was so much easier because I started investing in my brand years ago. And that's just been the single thing: hiring, recruiting, deal flow. It's now so much easier. I can solve all these problems so much easier because I took the time to work on my brand.
You know, it's interesting that you say that. I've been asked a lot lately, what's the difference between a select level room and a premier level room? And also, how's the market? And my response is, the people at the premier level that have been in the business for a long time, that have made a brand important to them over those years. It's one of the most important things to them to build a brand in their backyard. Those people are not only surviving, they are thriving right now. So the premier level members, I'm not saying any other level isn't successful, but across the board, all of our premier level members are doing really well in a market where a lot of people say is tough, right? The single biggest difference between the select level and the premier level is, first and foremost, time. Right? You've been in the business for 20 years or you've been in the business for 3 years. There's a big difference there. And it takes time to build a brand that people trust, right? I've heard this, and I've said this now several times on the pod. There's a trust recession. And a lot of that in our space because so much text messaging was done over the last 6 years and cold calls. People actually want to trust the people that they see on social media, or the people that they see as the authority on their local television commercial, or sponsoring the local college games like you do at the University of Wyoming. Yep. These people hey, I know that guy. I can trust that guy that he's going to go, follow through and do the job. So it's interesting that you bring that up. And I think it's the perfect message at the perfect time for this particular group. So thank you for that. outside of brand, is there anything that you can remember being in this particular room, the select level room? Was there anything that you can take away outside of brand that you said, that really clicked for me, and when it clicked, I learned it at Select, and I just went out and executed?
Yeah, it's been I would say, business operations, being a CEO, like running the EOS system, right? And it's funny. I mean, you come back here, it was like if you want to call it the CG slap, or it was more. It honestly was more of like every time I'd come back here, and I'd be like, you'd see how other people were running their organization, especially when you got to Premier. You're like, look how there's all these examples of people running their business like a true business. And every quarter we were saying we wanted to do it, but not really doing it and not prioritizing it. Was not showing up on our rocks to make sure we're doing it. So that's probably been the biggest one, is seeing so many examples of it and so many variations. Maybe call it marketing. You got to see it 7 times before you finally click. And finally, that's probably the biggest one I'm most proud of, that we've been able to implement that. And now we can really scale, and it's just taking time and iteration.
That's 2 members on this pod today that have said, we heard it, and then eventually I got hit over the head with it, and I realized that, that's what I have to do in order to take my business to the next business level, right? Not a side hustle, not a hustle, running an actual business. Dustin Singer sat there after his presentation and said, I knew what to do. I just had to do it. And running the KPIs and the systems, all those buzzwords that we hear that people say, I need to do that, but they never do it at its highest level.
Yes.
Love hearing that. Is there anything right now that you're working on outside of this presentation here in an hour or so? Is there anything else that you're working on you're excited to share with the people?
Yeah, it's now actually be kind of one of the culminations of what I'm sharing with Brand today is our 2-day summit. So we call it a Revive Summit. We're actually doing it this weekend. It's our next one here in Houston.
Oh, wow.
But we do them every quarter. So there'll be another one in January. But yeah, that's the biggest challenge now is continuing to get the right people in the room.
Yeah.
But we did our first one in July, and it was such a powerful experience to be able to help people. And it was like, for me, it was, again, just affirming, light bulb, whatever you want to call it, of like, I had the right people in the room for 2 days and be able to help them. I've kind of known it was my passion, but I really got to feel it for the first time. So now getting to deliver on it, and I'm just super excited to continue to do this every quarter.
Good for you. You're a great follow on social media. How do people follow you?
Yep. Find me at Casey Gregersen. You spell my name right with all E's, you'll find me.
Casey, thank you for being here on the live pod and all the value that you're going to give on that stage here in a bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Leon.
Appreciate it. All right. So you heard now twice, implementing systems, hiring the right people here from this live pod today. If you want to be in the room with people like Dustin and Casey, all those that have taken their business to the next level, easiest way to do that is go check out our website, explorecg.com. There you'll find all the information that you need about our community. There's an application process you need to go through. Make sure this is the right fit for both sides. That website is explorecg.com. That's it for this live pod. We'll see you on the next live CG podcast.